Welcome everyone. Today we're starting 6.4. Now 6.4 is broken up into 2 days, A and B. So we're starting with A today. So we're talking about compound inequalities. So what a compound inequality is it consists of two separate inequalities joined by and or. So an and inequality would look like this. -2 is less than x, which is less than or equal to 1. Now we can break that up into two separate pieces. So -2 is less than x, and x is less than or equal to 1. So that's where our and comes in. Now, if you remember, our x can never be on the right side. So all we would need to do here is flip it. So we have x is greater than -2. And x is still less than or equal to 1. So this is a solution of both the inequalities. The -2 is pointing to the right, so that has an open circle here. Then the less than or equal to 1 has a closed circle here, pointing to the left. So x can be anything in between -2 up to 1. The and inequality, I'll show you guys in person here, but it could be, it shows on our thumbs that it's going towards the middle, or meeting in the middle. The or inequalities have the word or in between the two of them. This one says x is less than -1, or x is greater than or equal to 0. So x is a solution of one of the inequalities. X is less than -1, so it's pointing to the left, and x is greater than or equal to 0, so closed circle pointing to the right. Now x could be anything that is less than -1, or anything that is greater than or equal to 0. Again, our thumbs, if we were to put those on there, it would be pointing the opposite directions for an or inequality. So let's try to solve some of these. So first of all, we have to look to see what kind of inequality is represented by this graph. Well, I see a line that's going in between our points right here. So it's going this way, and then this one is going this way. So when they're going together, we know we have an and inequality. Here we have a -4. We can just write this out as two separate. So x is going to be greater than or equal to, or sorry, just greater than, because it's an open circle, -4, and x is less than or equal to 0. So to write this out, we would have -4. We're going to flip our sign. So then x is still greater than -4. And x is less than or equal to 0. So x can be anything in between -4 all the way up to 0. On this one, we have the arrows going in two separate directions. This one's going to the left, this one's going to the right. So we have an or inequality. So our first one, x is going to this direction. So if I draw an arrow, now this is a closed circle, so less than or equal to 7, or x is greater than or equal to 10. So x can either be less than or equal to 7, or x is greater than or equal to 10. Okay, now we're going to solve these. Now what I have here is 2 is less than x plus 5, which is less than 9. Now this is an and inequality. because we have x in the middle here. What we're going to do to solve this is I'm going to draw two lines straight down from my symbols. What we have in the middle is x plus 5. Now we always try to get x by itself, so I'm going to subtract 5. Now what I subtract 5 from, I have to subtract 5 from both sides. What I do in the middle, we have to do to both sides. So 2 minus 5 gives us a negative 3, which is less than x, which is less than 9 minus 5, which is 4. So our new inequality is x, or negative 3 is less than x, which is less than 4. So we got to split this up so we can graph it. Negative 3 is less than x, and x is less than 4. X can never be on the right side, so I'm going to flip this again. So we have x is now greater than or greater than negative 3. So these are the two inequalities we're going to graph. If we draw our number line here, we know that one of them has to be at negative 3 and the other one has to be at 4. So they're both going to be open circles. We know that our negative 3 is pointing to the right, so I'm going to draw an arrow to the right. And we know that our 4 is pointing to the left, so I'm going to draw an arrow to the left. So this is an and inequality because x can be anything between negative 3 and 4. Here again we have something in the middle, so we have y in the middle. So this is again a and inequality. So I'm going to draw a line down from there and a line down from there, so I know that I have to separate these. First thing I'm going to do is subtract 4. Now I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. So what we have left then is 10 minus 4, which is 6, is less than or equal to 2y, which is less than or equal to 20. Now y is still not by itself, so we have to divide by 2. When we divide in the middle, we have to divide everything on both sides. So 6 divided by 2 is 3, which is less than or equal to y, which is less than or equal to 10. So if we separate these, we'll have 3 is less than or equal to y, and we'll have y is less than or equal to 10. So we can't have our variable on the right side, so I need to flip this again. So we have y is now greater than or equal to 3. Finally, we got to graph it. 3 is the smaller one, it goes over here. 10 is the bigger one, it goes over here. Now this has a closed circle because it has that line there pointing to the right. And this one is also a closed circle pointing to the left. So x can be 3 all the way to 10, but nothing below or above that. Alright, now we have an OR inequality this time. So what we got to do is solve each of these individually. So the first one we have is 2x minus 1 is less than 3. So we have to add 1. I'm just going to draw a line down the middle so I know to separate these two. So 2x is now less than 4. divide by 2, divide by 2, and x is less than 2. We know that's our first solution. Our second solution, we have to subtract 1. So we get 2x is greater than or equal to 11 minus 1, which is 10. Divide by 2, divide by 2, and we have x is greater than or equal to 5. So we know that x can either be less than 2 or x is greater than or equal to 5. How we would graph that? Our 2 is our smaller one, so that goes on the left. 5 is our larger one, so that goes on the right. 2 is an open circle pointing to the left. X here is greater than or equal to 5, so it's a closed circle pointing to the right. So our and inequality, they're going in separate directions. X cannot be anything in between 2 and 5, so it can't be 3 and it can't be 4. Alright, here we have an and inequality, but it's not put together. So we're still going to solve each of these sides individually. So I'm going to put a line down the middle so I know to solve them separately. So I'm going to subtract 7. So we have 2x is greater than or equal to negative 8. Divide by 2. And we have x is greater than or equal to negative 4. Then we're going to subtract 5. And we get 3x is less than or equal to a negative 12. Divide by 3. And we have x is less than or equal to negative 4. So this one is x is greater than or equal to negative 4, and x is less than or equal to negative 4. So this problem is interesting to graph, because if we put this into our graph, we have two of the same numbers, negative 4. Now, I know that x can be greater than or equal to negative 4. So I have a closed dot going this way. And I also know that x can be less than or equal to negative 4. So a closed dot going this way. Now, what this is telling me that x can be anything above negative 4 and anything less than negative 4. So our solution here is all real numbers. X can be anything. This one over here, I'm going to draw two lines straight down here. First thing is subtract 12. It cancels it out in the middle. 9 minus 12 is negative 3, which is less than 3x, and less than or equal to 21. Divide by 3. Negative 1 is less than x, which is less than or equal to 7. So if we split these up, we'll have negative 1 is less than x, but we have to rewrite this to be x on the left, so it's greater than negative 1. And then we have x is less than or equal to 7, so our number line will have -1 and 7 on it. Our -1 looks like it's going to the right, open circle, and our 7 is a closed circle moving to the left. Alright, last problem. We have an OR inequality here. Now, this is huge. This is a big problem. So what we have to do, or what makes it easier, is just to block off one side of it so you can do one side at a time. So here we have 6 plus 7m is less than 6m minus 5. Now, we can never have two variables, so I need to move my variables over to one side. We always want them on the left side, so I'm going to move the 6m over here by subtracting 6m. So 7m minus 6m gives me 1m plus 6, which is less than -5. Subtract 6. And we get m is less than a -11. So we've done one of our problems now. So I'm going to move this back over here so I can focus on this one. Again, we have an m on both sides, and I want it all the way over here. So I'm going to subtract 6m. So 3m minus 6m gives me a -3m, which is minus 7, which is less than 5, plus 7, and we get -3m is less than 12. Now we need to divide, but we're dividing by -3. When we divide by a negative number, remember to flip your sign. So now it's m is greater than -4. So when we are graphing this on our number line, we need to figure out which one is less, -11 or -4. -11 is the least one, so we have -11 on the left and -4 on the right. -11 has an open circle, and it's pointing to the left. -4 also has an open circle, and that one is pointing to the right. So x can be anything less than -11 or greater than -4. Your homework is to work on this worksheet. It is two-sided, but I only want you to do the odds.